Oh my gosh! I'm so excited. I have been wanting to try these for the longest time. Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artists at Play, and today I am going to be finally trying out the Derwent Graphitint pencils. And what this is it is water-soluble graphite, which is tinted with color, which I find super exciting. So let's take a look at these puppies. As you can see, I got the 24 set. It is a line that is available in only 24 colors. So I have all the colors here. They are also available in a 12 pack and they are available open stock. And something else that's really interesting is they also make a pan set, which you can use just like watercolor pans. That is a 12 set as well, I believe. And you can also buy the pans open stock. So if you fall in love, you can buy more. Oh, and I should probably mention, this video is not sponsored by Derwent or any of the other companies that might be mentioned. I bought these on my own because I am addicted to art supplies. Okay, so let's take a look at these pencils. They are beautiful, just like most of Derwent's. I love how they have the bright white writing on them against this like metallic-y, almost like chrome looking, a little bit darker than silver, but obviously that represents graphite. And then of course, it's got the closed end, and the closed end has a color strip that represents the color of the core. And we'll see how accurate that color is once we actually start working with them. They are a thicker pencil, like most of Derwent's pencils are, with a thicker core. Makes them very, very comfortable to work with in the hand. So very much the typical Derwent aesthetic as far as looks go. We have England written here, Derwent Graphitint, the line, the name of the color, and the number of the color, which is easy for reorder. Very lightweight, very comfortable. So let's look at these really cool colors we have. We have Port, we have Juniper, we have Aubergine, clearly I can read, Dark Indigo, Shadow, Steel Blue, Ocean Blue, Slate Green. Clearly, I need glasses, you guys. Meadow, Ivy, Sage, Chestnut, Russet. So one thing that I am noticing about the writing is, I don't know if you can see, it's going to look blurry because it really is kind of blurry. So I think that I've never really noticed that on other Derwent pencils, but they're kind of, the names that are smaller are kind of harder to read. It looks like the white paint kind of ran a little, and so it made the letters run together, especially on the smaller writing. So that's Russet. This is Cool Brown, Cocoa, Autumn Brown, Storm, Warm Gray, Midnight Black, Mountain Gray, Cloud Gray, Cool Gray, and White. So of course there's going to be a lot of neutral colors, and there will be a lot of earthy colors because those will lend themselves beautifully to water-soluble graphite. I'm sure they mix really well with graphite. So I think that this is actually a pretty good line of colors, considering it's going to be mixed with like the dark grayness of graphite. But there are a few warmer colors too, which is exciting. I'm really excited about this Port color. I'm excited about this purple. And I was looking at the Lightfast ratings online, and the wonderful thing is these are all rated between a 6, which is very good, and a 7 or an 8, which is excellent on the blue wool. They use the blue wool scale. And so these are all rated really well. If I know Derwent, they may not have probably tested them after they were watered down. I know that they haven't done that with their other water-soluble pencils. However, if something is light fast, then generally speaking, even when you water it down, it's not going to fade as easily as obviously something that's not light fast to begin with. So if it's light fast to begin with, it really shouldn't be fading even if you add water, unless it's obviously excessive amounts of water, which distributes the pigment differently. And so, yeah. But anyway, I am going to have to assume that these probably have some sort of pigment base, though I don't have any pigment information. I couldn't find any on their website or on Blick. So I'm thinking that they're probably a pigment base in order to get the color, because dye bases usually are not light fast. So I doubt they would have such great light fast ratings if they were a dye base. However, graphite in and of itself tends to be pretty light fast to begin with. So I have a feeling that if for some reason, if they were to fade, it would just be the color itself that would fade out of it or maybe discolor, whereas the graphite would still stay. So hopefully it wouldn't fade completely off the paper for you. But I'm really excited about this, and I honestly, I don't know how they do it because they don't really indicate how they mix the color in there. Again, I'm wondering if maybe they just use like a combination of their water-soluble graphite formula with maybe their watercolor or watercolor pencil formula. I don't know. My main guess, I'm guessing it's witchcraft. That's what I'm guessing. Some sort of sorcery is at hand here in order to make these really colorful graphite pencils. I'm sure it's probably something a little less glamorous than that. However, I'm going with witchcraft because I like that answer. Okay, so since this is something so different for me, I have reviewed something similar in the past, which was liquid pencil, and it was a different brand, and that was tinted graphite. But this has a lot more of a color range than that product did, and since the colors are expected to be so different than regular colored pencils or watercolor pencils, I am actually going to swatch these out. So I will switch to time lapse for that, and then I'm going to do a project which I have already sketched out of a barn, because I think that will lend itself to the nice antique-y look of these pencils. So I will see you then. So something that I meant to mention is these are pre-sharpened, which is really convenient, but before I do my work, I probably will still end up sharpening them even more because I like an even finer point than that. But it is really convenient to not have to sharpen them right from the beginning because that just takes so much time. So most of Derwent's pencils do come pre-sharpened, and that's just an added bonus. I just remembered why I never swatch, and that's because it bores the ever-loving crap out of me. But we're getting there. Okay, so here they are dry. They look really pretty. I love the muted colors. I forgot to bring some black paper out so that I could test the white one. But I laid down some marker and it went over it pretty well. Of course, it's probably lifting a little bit of the marker in with it. I would know better if I had black paper with me, but I don't at the moment. I don't know how much of this I will be using, but I am curious to see how similar it is to the Derwent Inktense white, because it definitely seems a little bit Inktense-y. So, yeah, we'll see. I probably will use it for highlights and things like that in my drawing. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to test out before I go in with water, I wanted to see kind of smudgeability. So let me grab one of these. Because I was really surprised to see that they didn't really smear too bad under my hand, even though I'm a lefty, and I had meant to go in the opposite direction so I wouldn't smear it, but it didn't end up smearing it anyway. So, I mean, it definitely smears like graphite. Let's see erasing. Definitely erases pretty well. I won't be using a lot of these smudging techniques for it because I'm going to be using a lot of water, but I definitely just kind of wanted to see. And they claim for smooth coverage, and it definitely goes on smooth. I am using, it's the fluid hot press paper that I used in a recent video of mine where I tried out the Holbeins. So it's a really smooth surface. It goes on well. Graphite is fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a fairly easygoing medium when it comes to your choice of surface. It doesn't smear out completely, but it does blend together. All right, so I am going to switch back to time lapse and I am going to add some water. Just gonna do half of it so I can leave half of it dry. Ooh, that's pretty. It doesn't, like if you have some of the pencil strokes far away from each other, it doesn't blend them out completely. I guess maybe if I go in the opposite direction, it might blend it out. Well, yeah, it does. Oh yeah, it dissolves really well. Oh, this is so exciting. I can't wait to work on my project. So some of these definitely do not match the tip of the barrel, but that's kind of to be expected. A lot of Derwent's pencils don't. However, I overlook it all the time because I love Derwent. And I kind of misspoke earlier when I had said I had gotten these myself. My husband actually bought these for me because they were on my wish list for the longest time. Oh, that one is gorgeous. But again, that is still because I'm addicted to art supplies and I've always got something on my wish list, and he got these for me. Ooh, that one doesn't want to... However, I did buy some of the pans, but they're on back order right now. I bought some from Blick. They're on back order. And when those come in, I will be doing another video trying out the pans. But that's okay because I wanted to try these first, and then I'll have a better, like, more accurate comparison to see which ones are easier to use, but likely in the future I'll just use them together. Okay, so here are my swatches. I actually scribbled some white onto something else and kind of put it over this. And it's pretty good. Like, it's not opaque, but I'm sure if I add more, it'll be fine. But yeah, they're really pretty muted colors, and I can't wait to start working on my project. So I am going to start doing that now. I'm going to switch to voiceover for that, and at the end, I'll tell you exactly what I think of them. Okay, so switching to voiceover and working on my little project. One of the first things that I notice about these is that they are actually a lot more vibrant than I expected. They're still more muted than regular colored pencils, but they're definitely more vibrant than I expected for something that is ultimately a graphite-based medium. And I found that to be really intriguing because it's just unexpected. And it's kind of funny though, because they do claim that they explode with color, and in that way they're kind of right. It's an unexpected amount of color, and I really, really like that. It still has the subtle kind of tonality of graphite, and they definitely feel more like working with graphite than with colored pencils. They're obviously not waxy. They definitely have that graphite feel to them when I'm drawing, but the color really, really was unexpectedly bright. And some of my favorite colors were the ocean blue, which is what I used in the sky, and meadow, which is what I'm using for the base of the trees and the base of the grass. Very bright and vibrant, and I really, really was just really excited about that. How many times can I say really? But yeah, overall, the color payout was extraordinary. And I had mentioned before that there are Lightfast ratings available online. I will have those linked in the description. I don't think that they've marked them on the pencils. Looking at one of the pencils again, no, they don't have it marked on the pencil. However, it is available online. I will link that and some more information about the product in the description below. So yeah, I ended up using every single color in this piece. I was really surprised about that, but I was able to make use of Port, which is like that dark red, the Autumn Brown, which is more of a red, and the purple colors as well. I used a lot of the purples in the shadows, especially in the trees, because the meadow has a lot of it. It's like a yellow-green, and the purple really offset that very well in the shadows of the trees and in some of the grass. And so I thought that that was awesome that I was able to mix the colors really well to get more depth in the shadows. And overall, very versatile color range. I thought that they all worked really well together, and they blended well together, as well as contrasted well against each other in the piece. And so I'm really happy with the color range. I'm really happy with the fact that I was able to use all 24 colors, and that even though some of them were quite vibrant, the ones that were more neutral definitely offset things enough and mixed well to kind of get a nice contrast there. Because I was kind of worried about that. I was like worried that they wouldn't have enough tonality, I should say. I guess, like, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get enough contrast. Of course, mixing water with them will definitely bring some contrast anyways, because the more water you add, the lighter they get, very similar to watercolor in that way. So I was able to get a full value range as well. One thing that I did notice, however, was that the Midnight Black was not as dark as I expected it to be, and the Warm Gray wasn't that much lighter than the Midnight Black. It's a little bit warmer in color, I think, than the Midnight Black, but overall, as far as value goes, the Warm Gray was just very slightly lighter than the Midnight Black, and so I wasn't as impressed there. However, I was still able to get my darks dark enough, so the range is still good. I just was kind of surprised at how close the Warm Gray was as far as value goes to the Midnight Black. But other than that, I think it was a pretty good range. The Cocoa and the Chestnut were kind of similar in color, but the Chestnut was a little bit more red in color. But yeah, so overall, it really wasn't that bad. I'm sure that there were only so many colors and that they could do that would work well with the graphite. And I have to apologize, you may or may not be able to hear my boxer. He is taking a nap, and he's dreaming. So he's making a lot of noises, he's kicking, he's twitching, and I don't know, maybe he's chasing a squirrel. Anyways, so back to the subject at hand. I was pretty happy with the range of colors. Like I said, I thought that they worked really well. I know obviously they wouldn't have been able to do any like pastel colors, obviously, because it is a graphite base, so you wouldn't want something pastel or something yellow, because the yellow would probably turn green once it mixed with the blackness or grayness of the graphite itself. And so as far as color range goes, I think that they did really well, considering the fact that they had to factor in the graphite. And so speaking of graphite, as I said, these felt very similar to, like, they feel like any other kind of water-soluble graphite pencils. And they, in the beginning, I had talked about how they smeared. They don't smear as well as regular pencil. And it's interesting to me because most of the graphite, most water-soluble graphite that I've ever used doesn't typically feel the same or smear the same way as regular graphite, which is fine because really, ultimately, you want to use water with water-soluble graphite. So they blended out beautifully with water. They did exactly what they were supposed to. I was definitely able to get rid of my pencil strokes. I had no issues there. But something that I normally have an issue with when it comes to water-soluble graphite is the fact that after it's been wet down and it dries again, it doesn't seem to erase as easily as it would if I had just used it dry. However, I didn't really seem to have that issue with these. That was really exciting to me. They were very easily correctable, which was really helpful because I got all the way through this drawing and realized that the building shape was a little bit wonky and I had to fix it. And I was able to do that really easily. So I was very, very excited about the fact that once they've wet down and they dry again, I was able to erase. Fantastic. Like I said, I don't usually have that much of an easy time erasing water-soluble graphite. So that was wonderful. I was even able to scrape off some layers with my craft knife, which is not typical. Like, that's more of a typical tool to use with regular colored pencil because regular colored pencil is waxy, and so you have a lot more thickness of layers to kind of scrape off, whereas graphite usually isn't as easy to scrape off without damaging paper, and I was able to lightly scrape off some areas without damaging paper. Still not as easily as colored pencil, however, I was able to do that, and I was quite surprised about that. And I also indented the paper sometimes with a wooden stylus. I did that mostly in the fence posts, and that worked really well as well because when you indent the paper and you color over it with the pencil, of course, the indents still stay white. That worked really well with these pencils. I was not surprised there because it is a pencil, and so obviously pencils work really well with indentations. But yeah, so overall, I'm pretty happy with these pencils. They are still a little bit more muted, obviously, than regular colored pencil, and I was able to get a fine point with them. However, I did notice some breakage, not while I was sharpening, but while I was using them. I probably used a little bit too much pressure. They definitely feel more like a soft pencil, even though they don't smear as easily as a soft pencil, but I was able to get quite a bit of darkness in them, especially when I didn't water it down, and I was able to get some really good layers with them. They definitely felt more like a B grade pencil, a nice soft pencil, probably around a 6B maybe, although I don't have any information telling me if it's a soft pencil or not. Not that I saw anyways when I was looking online, but that's what it feels like to me. And I liked that a lot. I just had to kind of keep myself in check because sometimes I'd put more pressure down than necessary and I would break the tips off the pencils, but that's more on me and not so much the product itself. But overall, I am happy. I recommend these. I love the kind of muted rustic look I was able to get with this piece, and I had so much fun. This was so quick. I did this in one day, other than the preliminary sketch, which I had sketched out last week. So here is the final piece. I hope that you enjoyed this. Yeah, I definitely love these pencils. I'll be using them more, and I will be using the pans as soon as they come. All right, so thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.